Steps are one of the best ways to lose weight and improve general health, so this week I'll be putting that to the test by stat padding my step goal like Lionel Messi's stat padding career goals in the MLS, and I'll be walking 100,000 steps this week to see how much weight I will lose, and by the end of this week even Paul Scholes won't want to go near my feet. So this week when I actually added up how many steps I'd have to take on average to reach the 100,000 mark for the whole week, it came to 14,286, or roughly around about there. It must be how Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips add up how many blokes they're going to shag in a week, and I think that's the only line you won't see Philip Schofield cut. As for my diet, I'm going to eat in a slight calorie deficit of 2,200 calories. I maintain my weight around about 2,600, so there's a slight deficit because I want to see just how effective the steps are for losing weight. And speaking of weight, I weighed 174 pounds this morning and looked like this. And throughout the video, I'll be going through some tips throughout it, just to give you some advice on how to incorporate steps into your daily routine and the benefits of doing them. Now I'll go over some of the challenges I could face this week while actually doing all of this. The first one being like visual fatigue, getting bored of seeing the same stuff over and over again by being outside. For example, the Germans probably went through this during World War II. I bet even they were pretty bored of being in the concentration camps all the time, doing the same thing over and over again every day, so that might be an issue. The second thing being, with being outside so much, if the sun decides to come out this week, if I get a melanoma on my head, we know the video that's responsible for that in a couple of years' time. And the final one being, there's actually quite a few schools around where I live, so I'll have to change around my route. If I keep popping up there, I feel like Marcus Rashford when he's on bad form and needs some good PR, so I'll make sure to change my route, because going around about 3 o'clock and seeing kids that are young enough to be on Hugh Edwards hard drive will make me feel a little bit noncy, so there are some things to avoid while doing this. Okay, so it's been a few hours now since that introduction to this video, and I've been out already on my first sort of walk. I've done around about 7,000 steps already, and it sort of leads on to the first tip I'm gonna go on about, which is this morning I've gone to the gym, then I went to the shops after, but I walked there and back to both the gym, then to the shops and all the way back, which is far better for getting steps in and burning calories in rather than just taking the bus, which all leads on to increasing your NEAT, which stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which pretty much just give yourself more reason throughout the day to be a bit more physically active instead of taking, I don't know, the elevator, take the stairs and stuff like that. Incorporate little daily movements extra, which are going to help you burn more calories and get more steps in throughout the day. So it's the evening time, I've completed all my steps. I completed them quite a while ago. I feel completely fine. My feet were a little bit sore earlier once I completed them, but we should sort of lead on to another tip, is actually like breaking up your walks throughout the day instead of doing them all in one big bulk. It's just easier to stick to if you know you're not got to do it all in one big sitting rather than the split up throughout the day, which is going to make it easier to stay consistent with doing the steps. So I'll see you tomorrow morning for the morning weigh-in. Okay, so good morning and welcome to day number 2. I just weighed myself this morning and it's still 174 pounds, which is to be expected, because weight loss isn't a daily thing, you know, it's very much up and down, so I'm expecting my weight to stagnate a little bit, but by the end of the week there probably will be a little bit of a drop, so yeah. I'll keep you updated throughout the day of how many steps I'll get on with, but yeah, the same weight this morning as it was yesterday. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours now since then. I've been out and got some steps in. I've got 4,557 in total. I'm not sure if you can see that or not, but that's how much I'm on at the moment. I'm a bit behind where I was yesterday, but that's fine. I've got about 10,000 more steps to do and then it's done. Which all leads on to another tip I want to go on about, is that you don't have to do fasted cardio first thing in the morning or anything like that. It doesn't burn more fat, it doesn't burn more belly fat or any of that bollocks. I used to believe that as well. It doesn't do a thing. And in fact, I'd actually recommend trying to get a meal in first thing in the morning when you do go out for your cardio. Because if you go out on an empty stomach, you might not have the energy to complete it or go a little bit further. Versus if you have a meal first thing in the morning, then go out for your walk, you have a bit more energy to complete that walk and maybe go on a little bit further, putting you more in a calorie deficit and obviously burning more calories off. So yeah, there's no reason to do fasted cardio when you're losing weight or at any time period. So it's evening time now. I've completed all my steps. I'll put that on screen now. As for how my calorie deficit's going, it's completely fine. I don't feel hunger or anything like that. Like I said, it's a small deficit, but actually incorporating more steps into your day helps suppress your appetite because it's low impact versus something like running, for example, where you're using a lot of energy up in a short period of time, which can increase your appetite, making you want to eat those calories back, versus something like walking, which I said, which is low impact, and you don't want to eat those calories back, so whatever you do burn, it stays burned. So I'll see you tomorrow morning for the next weigh-in, and let's see if there's been a drop overnight. Good morning and welcome to day number 3. I went on the scale this morning and I was still 174 pounds. The scale's had about as much movement as a paraplegic person in a wheelchair that's pedal powered, so I'm sort of expecting that, but I'm out on the walk at the moment. It's sort of got me thinking about, you know, like local people in your area, like you sort of notice taking the same route every day. And for me, for example, there's an old lady that used to walk around with her dog. I mean, she's dead now, so I can say whatever I want about her, but then there's things about me, for example, people around there would have seen me, fat as anything walking around, and before they know it, I'm walking around, hardly any fat on me and no hair. They must think I'm doing like a walk for a race for life event or something like that, God knows, raising money for charity for something I might be going through, God knows, but getting in the steps now, so I'll keep you updated throughout the day. Okay, so it's around about midday now. I've completed around about 9,000 steps, and my calves feel tired and Daniel leaving a transfer negotiation. So I'm going to give myself a bit of a rest now, then I'm going to go out later and complete the rest of the steps. Which leads on to another tip I'm going to go on about, which is that increasing your physical activity on a daily basis will lower your set point. And what I mean by set point is that we've all been given at birth a certain amount of fat cells and ghrelin, which these two things control our hunger levels and the amount of food it takes to fill us up. So if you are someone that's overweight, you have more of these fat cells that take longer to fill up and a higher amount of ghrelin, making you want to eat more. So with that, incorporating more steps into your daily routine, your body will now want to become leaner because of the amount of physical activity you are doing. So pretty much, if you do more physical activity, such as walking or weightlifting or anything like that, your body will want to be lighter because you'll be less stress onto your body, making your body want to weigh less, suppressing your appetite and helping you lose weight, be more easier and more effective. So incorporating more physical activity into your daily life will lower your body's preset set point of how much weight it wants to be at and make you want to be lighter and leaner, because that will make doing the physical activity a lot more easier. Okay, so day 3's now come to an end. I've obviously got all my steps in and stuff. Feeling fine now. Don't feel as fatigued and achy as I did earlier. But hopefully there's a bit of a drop on the scale tomorrow. So let's just see then. So I'll see you tomorrow morning. So it's day number 4 now, and there has been a drop in the weight. Like I said yesterday, there probably would be. I'm down to 173 pounds, so a £1 drop in total, which is obviously good. I've still got a couple of more days left of doing this, so there might be another bit of a drop. And I'm on around about 8,000 steps already today, and it's all leads on to another thing I want to go about, which is eating back the calories you've burnt off. Apple Watches, Fitbits and stuff like that, they're great for tracking your steps and workouts and stuff like that, but the calorie burn on them can be pretty misleading and way overshot. So whatever calories you do burn during the day, just keep them burned. Don't go into eating those calories you don't actually know how many you're truly burning. And like I said, with most of these tracking things, these tracking devices, they're mainly overshot with the amount of calories that are actually burnt. So just saying to keep in mind when you are trying to lose weight, don't go into the calories you've burnt. Okay, so day number 4 has now come to an end. Obviously got all my steps and stuff, and I'd say today's probably been the toughest day of doing this so far. I've got a bit of ankle pain. I'm going to relate that to doing the amount of steps I've been doing, so hurts a little bit. We'll probably be fine by tomorrow morning, so I'll see you for that with the next weigh-in. Let's see if there's been another drop overnight. Okay, so it's actually the following evening now, the previous clip you just saw. I've been a bit busy today and I couldn't bother to record anything, so it is what it is. I was down this morning again to £172, roughly around about there, so now a £2 drop, which is obviously alright. So yeah, the final 2 days now, Saturday and Sunday. I am sort of looking forward to this being a bit over. This has become a bit more draining as the week's gone on. It's just on my mind a bit too much getting all these steps in as soon as possible. So yeah, final 2 days now, and let's see what the results are. Okay, so that's the next morning now. I literally just got done weighing myself and I was 172.4 pounds, so a slight drop from yesterday, which was, I think, 172.8. So now onto the weekend, so it's a Saturday, and this is where typically most diets tend to fail, don't they? And exercise regimes tend to go off the wagon. But one thing I would say about that would be that if you are finding yourself that you do fall off on the weekends, it's probably because you're over-restricting in the week. You hardly eat during Monday to Friday, you get to the weekend and that's why you splurge and overeat. So if you are someone that's not doing too well on the weekends on your diet, and this is the reason why you're probably not losing weight, I'd say to increase your calorie deficit during the week, so eat a little bit more throughout the week, then on the weekend just keep it all the same. That might help you a little bit when sticking to your diet on the weekends. Also, if you do have one day where you do overeat on the weekends, I would say don't sweat about it massively. Don't then go on a massive cycle of massively under restricting and doing endless amounts of cardio to make up for that one bad day. What I would say is just make sure you get to your sustainable calorie deficit and your normal cardio goal as soon as possible, instead of just trying to catch up on what you've potentially lost. Because realistically, when you do overeat on one day, you're not going to do too much damage. When you do step on the scale the next day, it's just going to be a lot of water retention that you're holding, because in 1 pound of fat there's 3,500 calories. So it'll take a lot of overeating to reach that amount, and that's 3,500 calories over your maintenance. So if you do have one bad day on the weekend, I would say don't get too overstressed about it. Just resume your normal calorie deficit as soon as possible. So I'm going to complete my step today, and I'll probably see you this evening for a bit of an overview. Then it's the final day tomorrow. Then on Monday will be the final weigh-in. Okay, so it's the evening time now. All the steps have been completed, obviously, on the second and final day. And one thing I can tell you for sure is that the visual fatigue I was talking about at the start has definitely started to set in. I've obviously been taking the same sort of similar routes every single day just because it's easier. And something I've noticed is the amount of dog crap that gets left on the bloody pavement floors and people just don't decide to pick it up. I mean, there's one massive bit of muck near where I live, and it's just stayed there from Monday all the way now to Saturday, and it won't be picked up tomorrow. I know it won't. If you're one of them people that let your dog shit on the floor and do not pick it up, you are a dickhead. There's no doubt about it. But feeling fine at the moment, not too fatigued or anything like that. Yeah, let's see how the final day goes, and the final weigh-in will be on Monday. So yeah. Okay, so it's the Sunday evening now, the final day of doing this little step challenge for myself. My weight this morning was exactly the same as yesterday, 172 pounds. So we'll see tomorrow morning what the final weight result is of doing this for the entire week. See if there's been a big drop. So I started off this week at 174 pounds. So we'll see the total weight loss tomorrow morning, and I'll probably go over a bit of an overview of the entire challenge and give a bit of a pros and the cons list of the things I did and didn't enjoy doing this. So yeah, see you tomorrow morning for the final weigh-in. Okay, so it's the morning now. I've just had the final weigh-in, and it was still 172.2 pounds. So in total, I lost 2 pounds in total across the entire week, which is still a really good drop-off. And I just had my check-in of what I look like now this morning compared to last Monday. So yeah, 2 pounds in total lost across the entire week, which is still good considering it was only a slight calorie deficit I was in of only 400. I think that's not even a pound a week of weight loss. So the steps definitely had a massive effect of how much weight I was able to lose. And if you think about it like this, if I was to redo this week for the entire year, across the year that would be 104 pounds of fat loss just from this walking alone and only a slight calorie deficit. So it definitely shows that a little can definitely go a long way by incorporating more physical activity throughout your day. So let's say, for example, throughout this entire week, I burned the 600 calories extra from doing all these steps. So 600 calories across a week, that'll be 4,200 calories burnt in total. And across a year, that'll be 218,400 calories, which will equate to 62 pounds of fat burnt just from walking alone. No calorie deficit, just from the calories burned from all them steps. And you definitely don't have to do this amount of steps straight away. Just focus on what you can do now, which fits your daily routine, your mobility and your general health, and increase that goal over time. And as you increase that goal, your cardiovascular health will improve, which will mean you can do more activity for longer. So now I'm going to go over some of the pros and cons of doing this challenge across the entire week. I've written some of them down just so I don't forget. The first one being that it was low impact. I wasn't sore like the following day or anything. After doing a big block of steps, my feet would feel a little bit sore on my calves and all that, but that would wear off in within like an hour or two. So it was low impact compared to something like running, which can be very strenuous. Next thing, that good stress relief. Is just nice to get out of the house and be outside for a bit, mainly from being rattled by playing FIFA all weekend. Going for a walk after playing that has definitely been helpful. Not hungry, so I wasn't going into the calories I had burnt off, compared to something like running, which I said earlier in the video that you can maybe your hunger levels maybe will increase because of doing that strenuous amount of activity compared to walking, which is, as I said, very low impact, so you won't want to eat them calories back. And good energy levels. I didn't feel low throughout the day or anything like that. I wasn't like fatigued or tired or had any naps throughout the day, so that was completely fine. And also my training was fine, even though exercising and working legs and stuff, there was no issue with that. So the activity I was doing wasn't colliding with my weightlifting, so that's obviously another good thing. As for the cons, it was quite time consuming in terms, I think it took, I don't know, maybe like 2.5 hours to get all the 14,000 steps in. So it did take a little bit of time, which all leads on to the next thing. That it was on my mind constantly of like, how early could I get the steps in just to say I'd done them, just in case something popped up throughout the day. So it was a bit like on my mind all the time, getting them amount of steps in. And also the last thing is that just the ignorant people that are walking around on the streets nowadays, I've sort of dubbed them this week as being slow, ignorant walkers. It's one thing being slow and moving out of the way for someone, that's completely fine. But you have these people who think they own the streets for some reason, and you said complete ignorance. I think, what day was it? I think it would have been Thursday. I was walking down the street, and there was this thing, I'm not even 100% sure it was even human that I was walking behind. I said to it nice and easily, excuse me, can you move out of the way? And it kissed its teeth at me like some absolute twat. As I walked past, I did have a good look at it, and they were sweating there like a piece of bison that's in a boiling hot pan. Yeah, so if you're an ignorant walker and you do walk a bit slowly, just be cautious of who's around you. I've really noticed that way, you know, people sitting on their phones and all that as they're walking past. It proper fucks me off, to be honest, when people just walk into you because they're not looking up. But barring that, I think that's all the pros and cons gone through. So I hope this video helps showing the power of steps when you're trying to lose weight and you haven't got to do vigorous amounts of cardio to try and lose weight. You haven't got to do HIIT cardio or anything like that, where you just end up sweatier than Adam Johnson in the kids aisle in the clothes shop. It just shows the power of steps, and a general daily movement increasing your physical activity can definitely go a long way when you're trying to lose weight.